Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coffee Chat brought to you by the SA Property Investors Network. I want to say thank you for joining me as always and welcome. So, today we have an amazing show because we have an oldie with us. We have our former Coffee Chat host and esteemed investor, Daniel Kazadi, is going to be joining us just a little bit later discussing due diligence on properties. This is something we all know and understand, and for the most part, we know how to do it. But there's still people that are caught up and make mistakes, and mistakes in property can be costly. So we are going to be discussing this and what to look out for. What are the common mistakes that people make? Can you fix issues that you might have overlooked after a purchase of a property and all things in between? But firstly, I want to say thank you to those who are joining us. And as always, if this is your first time, please can you just comment in the chat box and also like and share to your friends because we would love to grow our coffee chat community. So just let me know in the chat box. If you're too shy to actually say anything, just a nice wave or a hi. Is needed in the chat box, and also where are you watching us from? It's something we always want to know. We have an ongoing battle and feud between Cape Town and Johannesburg, and so far Cape Town is winning. However, to my Joburgians, please let me know where you're watching us from. And as I'm waiting for you guys to let me know where you're watching us from, and if this is your first time, I'd like to discuss our event because, as you know, we are a property network-based company. It's simple. We connect, we align, and we educate individuals that want to start and or grow their property journey. It's that simple and straightforward. So we have coffee chats every Monday at 1 p.m. in order to teach you all things encompassing property. So if you had missed the annual Women's event, I'm disappointed. It was a phenomenal event filled with education and inspiration all over. However, we have more coming up. The next one that's going to be happening that on the 26th and 27th of August, this upcoming weekend, we are going to be having the practical property investing. And that is going to be happening in Edenvale. So you can please just get your tickets. The link will be in the chat box. That is actually quite an interesting workshop. We talk about everything encompassing property. So the strategies, taxation, the different avenues at which you can purchase your property, all things that you thought you know, but you didn't know. So please, if you have not gotten your tickets yet, please get those. Then we're going to be having our KZN walkthrough. Yes, to my lovely people in KZN, we're going to be having a property walkthrough that's also happening on the 26th. That's at 9 o'clock. And again, the link is in the chat box, so you can purchase your tickets through that. And we are going to be having a mastermind on the 31st of August, and it's going to be happening at 6 o'clock online. It's an individual that cannot actually make it in person for our workshops. At least you have a mastermind. And also, we are going to be running another property workshop in Cape Town. As you know, we are across the country, right? It's KZN, PE, Cape Town, Bloemfontein, Johannesburg, Victoria. We have events all over the country. So you do not have an excuse as to why you have not joined. Now, as I said earlier on, we have a lovely guest. I know some of you, and by some I mean maybe 4 or 5. But some of you have missed Daniel and seeing him on screen. So today he is our guest for the coffee chat, and we're going to be discussing due diligence on properties. So without further ado, help me welcome Daniel Kazadi.
Hey Kali, how's it going?
I'm good. I wish to have like the virtual club. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a while since we've done any of this. And ladies and gents, can we give a huge round of applause to Kali? I think you're the perfect person to do these things, and you're always good to interact with everyone online and have this discussion. Huh?
Awesome. And to those of you who always had pressing questions for Daniel, as I said, this is one of the few times we'll be able to answer stuff for free. So please put your questions in the chat box as we discuss. Hello, Jerry. As we discuss due diligence. First and foremost, Daniel, let's get straight to it because this is something that's it's assumed that everybody knows this, and it's assumed that people understand that you have to do your due diligence before you purchase a property, no matter how you're purchasing it.
Yeah.
Be it a private sale, auction, installment sale agreement, you should do your due diligence. But people still get it wrong. So, what would you say are the common mistakes that people do prior to purchasing a property?
Yeah, definitely. And horror stories we hear of
Yes.
people that go buying properties without doing due diligence is quite concerning. So for people that don't understand, maybe due diligence is just a process before, ideally before you buy the property, to understand everything that comes with the property, to paint you the best picture. And I would say there's a lot of things you can do commonly within the different types of investments. So if you're buying a sectional title, if you're doing a development, if you're doing a flip, if you're doing a multi-let, that you can do common ones. But however, each strategy dictates you doing different forms of due diligence and an additional fold of protection you have to put in place. However, coming back to your question, common mistakes that people normally come to me with after buying a property is, I have this plot of land and I want to build a shopping center. Or I'm going to get 30 units.
Yes.
After already acquiring it is quite scary. So I'd say that's top. A lot of people that just have an empty plot of land they've already bought, and now they're asking for funding to buy to develop it. But then when you have conversations with them, they've not done feasibility studies. They do not understand what they're allowed to do on that piece of land. I'll say is the biggest one. Huh?
Yes, I think we've also had that before, where somebody buys a plot of land and only to realize that it's agricultural, or they're actually not allowed to do anything on the plot of land. So firstly, I think what I would say is, prior to purchasing land, actually do your due diligence and understanding the servitudes and anything on that piece of land prior to purchase.
100%, 100%, and understanding things like zonings and what you're allowed to do, reading the title deed, even before buying a property, just prepares you in going towards investments. And another common thing that a lot of people don't do is, if you're buying a sectional title, a lot of people just look at the property you're buying. They do not understand how the entire sectional title, how your neighbor, them not paying the levies affects your property and your investment, and what's the best way of putting it? The appetite of other investors wanting to jump into that scheme. You need to understand that they all play a part, and you need to understand what you're buying. It's not separated. Huh? And for due diligence in sectional titles, it requires you to do a more guided and more folds of checks. So yeah,
that's a bit scary in the fact that people don't understand, especially in sectional titles where you own the apartment but not where it's situated. So whatever's happening around you does affect you. So what I want to know then, and I know a lot of people might be watching and going, ooh, I may have done that mistake. Is it possible to fix issues once you've purchased the property?
So it is possible. I think when people do come to me with those sort of things, selling the property is probably last resort. So once we've tried every single book, trick under the book, and most things are different. So for people that made the mistake, they just bought a random sectional title property where it is not making them money. We tried, obviously, limit. I know you had Leon Castleman, part of the team, talk about how do you optimize your investments to make sure that they are performing. But if they are negative cash flow, how do you turn that to positive cash flow? And we do things like looking at your insurance. Are you paying too much, too little? Getting you other quotes, prolonging bonds. If you have a 20-year bond, to potentially go to a 30-year bond, yes, you do end up paying more in terms of loan, but your monthly bond reduces. And for people that have bought plots of land, that's maybe a bit more difficult to do. But we all obviously do run studies to understand, okay, we're here now. What can you do with the plot of land you have now? And then as a last resort, we do try sell it. But again, even that, if you do your due diligence correctly, you enter each investment with an exit strategy in mind. So you make sure you run your numbers on whatever I run. If I do not make it, if it does not work out, can I sell and still make good money? So that's also part of your due diligence, I would say.
So as we're speaking about due diligence, and in terms of people making blunders, just for the viewers, what would you say are your top 3 things that have to be part of your due diligence when you're looking to buy your first property, or even just extend your portfolio?
Top 3 things. I think the first thing is the numbers.
Mhm.
Understand, are you going to be making money on a monthly basis? And just again, I have this argument with a lot of people. Some people are entering property just to diversify. They don't really care about making money. It's more just to build a portfolio.
We very much care, right?
You'd be surprised. And if your strategy is to make money from it, maybe let's separate it. If it is to make money, understand the numbers. So that is basically what are your monthly operating expenses, your monthly operating income from the property, and understanding the area that you're in. So how much are people charging for a 3-bedroom property versus a 2-bedroom property? And I would go the extra mile to understand the futuristic approach that where your property is situated, what is coming. So understanding the region plans, what have municipalities approved, because that also dictates the value of your investments moving forward. So I'd say step number 1, understanding the numbers and running a full analysis on the area, what is happening, and securing yourself in that fold. Number 2, I'd say have an exit strategy. You definitely want to make sure that you understand, yes, we go into investments thinking we'll make a lot of money, but just for a second, just be skeptical and wear that hat and say, if for whatever reason this does not work out, am I able to exit as clean as possible? So what that means is, if I have to sell it now, is there a demand for this sort of property, for this sort of product? How much can I sell it for, and run those costs? If I have to sell it for X, A, B, C, D, E, am I still in a comfortable position, I'll say? And the third one, quite difficult one, if you are going into a property investment for due diligence, the third one is make sure you understand that property is not, I guess a lot of people phrase it as passive income. In my opinion, it's definitely far from passive income. Make sure that you have a sort of maintenance plan. So what I do for properties I'm looking to buy, I get Marissa Robos in, and she, especially for multi-lets or blocks of flats, she can draw you out a proper 30-year maintenance plan. So with different colors on them, I think it's green, amber's red, I'm guessing. Or is it orange?
I do not know what orange.
Okay, amber is orange, and then red. Yeah, so she has 3 tags. So it gives you a proper forecast. In 3 months' time, you need to replace those geysers, you need to paint it, you need to fix the tiles. So you're able to keep the value of your property competitively. So if you want to exit, you're able to implement it. But I think I need to stress the importance of, if you are buying a sectional title, there's so much money to be made, but a lot of money to be lost. So I spoke about Marissa Robos, and a deal came in mind. I bought a property in the Northwest a couple of years ago. And before I bought it, sectional title again, I bought Marissa Robos to come and have a look at it. As part of my due diligence, I always make sure my inspection team just gives me a second opinion. So Marissa came on board, and she found out with all body corporates, there's a 10-year maintenance plan they need to follow out. And they need to keep regularly updating the properties and stuff. And she found out that they've not been doing keeping up with a maintenance plan. And I think I needed to spend about 150,000 rand on renovations. However, I just got Marissa there. I had budgeted to spend 150,000 rand. Marissa saw that they've not been keeping up with this, so now we had 2 options. So either we would come with all the neighbors and all the owners in that
you're
scheme.
setting up a coup.
Yeah, whole coup. Like, you need to replace these things now. So a lot of the buildings weren't done according to buildings, what regulations with the NHBRC and everything else that came with it. So they actually agreed that they've not been doing the maintenance plan. So I was planning to flip it. So because I brought in my team member, Marissa Robos, she actually saved me 150,000. And so they committed to repair anything we needed repaired. So I actually unsold the property with the commitment from the body corporate that they will do the renovations. So I didn't touch anything. So again, just the importance of doing your due diligence and understanding the renovations cost when you're buying a property, running the numbers, and don't be afraid of the numbers, huh?
Don't be afraid of the numbers, and also the power of the network, because we have a strong network like Marisha Robas, who is a phenomenal property inspector who actually can save you money on deals. But speaking about sectional titles, we're already getting questions. Like I said, guys, any questions you have in terms of doing your due diligence and where you should start and what you do, please put them in the comments. The first one is from Sam, and he wants to know what exactly do you check when you buy into sectional titles besides structural issues?
So I would check the AGM meetings of the body corporates every year. They have an AGM meeting, and just reviewing the minutes, that gives you great insights on their plans for the next year. I'll check the financial statements of the body corporates just to ensure to find out is the body corporate in a good financial position. So does every single owner within the estate or the complex or the scheme, are they paying their levies? Why you want to know that information is if there are people that are defaulting, what normally happens is body corporates raise loans. They would raise a loan, and just to keep up with their monthly maintenance, paying the security guard, they will raise loans, and they will push the loan repayments to the owners within the body corporates, and they'll push it via things like special levies and that sort of thing. So you obviously want to have an understanding of the financial position of the body corporates. Understand the rules of the body corporates. Like most times, investors go into these things wanting to turn these things into investments, and you need to understand what are the rules. Could you do a multi-let? Could you not do a multi-let? Could you do Airbnb? Could you not do Airbnb? What policies they have in place? Yes, it's boring stuff that like the general public would not do, but if you are in this for the long term and long-term gain, you just need to ensure that you understand and you're actively involved within the trustees and the whole thing, huh?
All right. So you mentioned, part of your team is Marisha Robas, and she does the property inspection itself. And if you are somebody who wants to expand their portfolio, say you are a one-man band, but it's getting obviously a little too large for you, or you want to expand, and so now you want to know what kind of people would you then say should be part of your team if you want to, action effective due diligence on your potential investments?
Yeah, so with each property transaction, you need to understand that they're all different. There's always something that changes. So part of your team members, ideally, my coach when starting out, Andrew always told me, Daniel, you want to be the weakest link amongst your professional team. So you definitely would like to have a more seasoned investor, whether they're playing a role of a coach or just an accountability person. So I'll start there. So get an accountability buddy. That's a good way I've seen of growing your property investment portfolio. Get someone that is actively growing theirs, that will actively set goals with you, make sure you're viewing properties and make sure that you get the work done. Because it gets quite tricky for a lot of people, especially if you're treating property as a second hustle. So an accountability buddy, definitely. You definitely want to get a coach, a mentor, someone that has years of experience and has done some amazing things, right? And that you can constantly go to for support and assistance. And it's more helping you implement what you already know. So that's another big one. I'd say an attorney. Make sure that an attorney, you do not want to be in any industry without making sure that you're right legally. So an attorney, a coach, an inspector, estate agents. Make sure you've got a lot of estate agents, and you, with all your power team members, you need to understand that they have an idea of how you're working, but they do not know everything about the work you do. You need to actively take them out on drinks and coach them and show them, make sure they understand your vision, what you're looking to implement as well. So estate agents, a big one. Letting agents, are you going to manage it on your own? Are you going to need someone to manage your properties on your behalf? And again, building those relationships comes a large for town planners, huge on town planners. Never buy land without talking to your town planner. As just a free advice, or town planners. And geez, there's so many other individuals, investors and partners that you want to bring on board that see your vision and you've got a proven track record with that you can obviously grow from. I'd say those are the key ones that you want. Obviously, you need systems in place, and maybe further down the line, you've got proper systems, inspections, and it works like a well-oiled machine that works without you, but you constantly need to be there, if that makes any sense.
Okay, and that is, just a rough overboard of a power team, which we also have. We have everybody that you have mentioned in the SA Property Investors Network.
Yes.
So, if you want more information about that, link is in the description in terms of understanding, how to get your power team correct. But we're going back to our questions, and Sam Kelo wants to know, does the history of the property play any factor in the process of conducting your due diligence? So, how old the property is, does that play a factor?
So how old I wouldn't say. I don't think it does, but the history definitely. And I share the story. I hope he's not watching. Bruno, shame. He found out like there's a sinkhole in his property, which is quite painful. And like, if it does happen, like now, chances are it might happen in a good amount of years. So you definitely want to understand: have there been break-ins in the property before? Any sinkholes, any single thing that can go wrong, that has gone wrong, and you might want to put safety measures in place to ensure that they do not go wrong if lightning strikes the property. And so yes, I would say yes, it does. You obviously want to understand the area, and if anything has gone wrong, can you put in measures to ensure it doesn't go wrong again?
Okay. As we keep on with the questions, like I said, if you want to ask anything regarding to due diligence, please put your questions in the chat box and I'll make sure that Daniel gets to answer them. So we have a question from Leonard. It says, hi, Kali and Danny. Great job, by the way. Thank you. Just wanted to ask, what can you do to check the rights and conditions if the seller doesn't provide you with a copy of the title deed prior to signing the OTP? This is a very good question.
Oh, very good. So what can you do to find out the rights and the
rights and conditions?
If the seller, it's an interesting one, right? So most agents do push back against it, and 9 times out of 10, okay, maybe not 9 times, 6 out of every 10 times, they don't even have the title deed. The banks would have them, but they would have a copy, but they do not know they have one. So I'd say try and make them see why you would like to have a look at the title deed, just to confirm if there's any servitudes or any restrictions against it. Another way of finding out is just check the zonings. And what I normally do when I sign my offer to purchases, I make it subject to receiving A, B, C, D, E, and just talking to them. And it's not about putting it on contact and then sending it out. Just have that conversation, be human about it, and just share some of the horror stories you've heard of people that wanted to do things, but then later find out that they can't do what they wanted to do because after they've already bought the properties, there's restrictions that they then find out. So just make sure you speak to them. Once I've had that conversation with them, I tend to feel the pushback is less than original if you wait without that.
Okay, so essentially just be human about it, have a conversation. Because for the most part, it's people just trying to have a transaction, and they'll be more than likely. However, if they completely refuse, then what do we do?
So if they completely refuse, depending on your deal, right? So if I want to do a multi-let within an area and the seller does not want to provide me with the title deed, they do not know their zonings, I'll get on the phone call with my town planner, send them the address and say, look, this is what I want to do with the property. Are there any chances I can get it right? Again, it's probability. They might say yes, but you can't. But then you might have to pay them extra for them to do a bit more digging to see whether neighbors granted any permission to do any special or business right stuff or S3 stuff. And then they can give you a proper breakdown like, Daniel, based on research done on A, B, C, D, E, there is no chance of getting this because the municipality has pushed back. There's flood lines or there's servitudes running through the property. So your town planner might be the best bet as well. But again, due diligence clause.
Power team, power team, power team.
And I left out an important member of a power team. I mean, if you can get a handsome young man on your power team. I'm not saying me, Kali, but if the shoe fits.
It doesn't. The shoe does not. As we go back to the questions on the chat box, Sam, I think this is a continuation of the original question, and they essentially asked, what exactly do you check when you buy into sectional titles besides the structural issues and municipal debt? If there's any arrangements in place. So now we're going to municipal debts, for example. You said special levies. What happens then when, during your due diligence, you realize that there's huge municipal debts or levies debts?
So then it's up to you, because you've painted that entire picture and you've got a honest financial position. You know that, like, if you buy this property, you're paying 3,000 rand levies and a special levy of 2,000 rand. So in total, you're paying 5,000 rand on just levies. Right? There's still your bonds, there's still your water and electricity. So now you are making an informed decision. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're making a decision with having all your stones turned. You've got a full understanding of each and every single thing about that property, and then it's your decision to make. Like, do you still does the number still support buying into the scheme, or does it not? So it's all due diligence is meant to put you in a position to understand, should you be buying this or not. And then once you've got all the data, all the information, I guess it's ultimately up to you. There's nothing set in stone. I mean, if you buy the property and it's in an area that appreciates in value, and you've ran those exercises to ensure that the market value increases, you're making rental income, then buy it. If it doesn't, then yeah.
Alrighty then. So as we come to a close, if you have any more questions to ask Daniel regarding due diligence and the ins and outs and what to look out for, please put them in the chat box. But I also have a question in terms of the standard of due diligence. It's always, like you said, around the numbers, structural issues.
Yeah.
Are there anything, or is there anything that is very particular that people might not be aware of? And you go, actually, this is something, you need to look out for due diligence, or is it the standard, the top three that you gave us, because those are the common ones?
Yeah, so there's quite a few things depending on what you're looking to invest in, right? And maybe let's pick one. Let's say you wanted to flip. You wanted to flip properties, or you're looking to finance with a bond. This could be an interesting one. You're looking to finance with a bond. So part of your due diligence, and maybe you do not have to understand how to do it. If you do, then it's quite awesome. If you want to finance it with a bond, chances are you want to have an understanding on the different level of exposures different banks have with a certain area. And that gives you an idea of whether you are likely to get finance or a bank might be exposed within that set area. So I'll go the step further of doing that. Again, you do not have to if you do not want to. Another thing with TPN, which is quite awesome, is it goes into detail on the type of tenants you can expect within a set area, the type of price points those tenants look at, and then you can make an informed decision to ensure that the product you're looking to provide, there's a demand for it. I'll give you an example. If I'm buying a property in Edenvale or in Randburg,
yes,
I'm guessing that's where Sam would live. Sam would live in Randburg and live easy in Randburg or something. Yes. To be lazy about it, right? And I want to buy a property there, and I want to tailor make it to family house, family home. But then I see that the demand in that area is more bachelor pads, and there's young individuals that probably have a girlfriend, or they're sharing things.
Yes.
Then I'll very quickly know that it's incorrect price points, because if I want to charge 10,000 rand for that, I can't, because most of those youngsters pay 4.5, for instance.
Yes.
So it's just understanding supply and demand again. And yeah, it's all data driven, and how you interpret it, unfortunately, is up to you. Huh?
This is true. The end result is you. The only thing that we can support you with at SAPIN is we're giving you the power team and the tools and skills and education to understand the decisions that you're going to be making. But ultimately, like Daniel said, it is your decision. Before we close off, I want to reiterate the events that we're going to be having. As I said before, we are having a KZN property walkthrough that's going to be on the 26th of December. Link is in the chat box for you to purchase your tickets on our website. Then we're having the big one, which is the practical property investing workshop. This is where we cover everything that is encompassing of property, from structures to taxations, different strategies, everything you can think of in terms of you starting your journey to becoming a property investor. That's going to be happening over 2 days. That's on the 26th and 27th of August. We are also going to be having a workshop in Cape Town, and that's going to be on the 2nd and 3rd of September. And lastly, we're going to be having a mastermind on the 31st of August. That's going to be happening at 6 o'clock sharp. So if you cannot attend any of these, then you honestly aren't serious about being a property investor. However, I want to say thank you so much to those of you who have joined. And as always, it has been a pleasure. Thank you also to Daniel.
Thanks for having me. So much fun. Hey? And just a last one on that. If you can make those 2-day workshops, it's amazing. We're having Mark Berman coming in. So from a development point of view, he's going to share a deal. I think he bought for about 3 million rand, a property he bought for 3 million rand, and he got sold dreams by the estate agents and the town planner that he can get a 3-story building. And fast forward 15 years later, he still hasn't got his 3-story building and lost like 3 million rand.
Yeah,
so
due diligence. Due diligence, and this is why we do it. But yes, so we're going to be having amazing speakers such as Mark Berman on that one. So please make sure to get your tickets. Link is in the chat box. However, I would love to see you guys again next week. And as always, from me to you, see you next week.